This is Medical Device Legal News. Today is May 2nd, 2023. I'm Sam Bernstein. On April 21st, Adapt Health, a provider of respiratory or durable medical equipment, formerly known as QMES, agreed to pay $5.3 million to resolve False Claims Act allegations that it submitted false claims for respiratory devices that were upcoded and for respiratory devices that patients did not need or use. Adapt Health was alleged to have upcoded and billed federal healthcare programs for ventilators when a patient was instead prescribed and received a BiPAP machine, resulting in an alleged additional $3,500 to $4,500 billed per month per case compared to the ordered BiPAP. Adapt Health also allegedly billed for ventilators after patients no longer needed them, and allegedly double billed federal payers for some ventilator rentals. This case unfortunately involves an all too common fact pattern. The key TAM relator was employed by Adapt Health and raised concerns with his supervisors after discovering the alleged upcoding. The relator repeatedly allegedly recommended to the company that it self-report and correct the billing and coding errors, but was allegedly instructed to keep the issue quiet and was eventually terminated. Employees that raise compliance issues all too frequently, unfortunately, become key TAM relators when their concerns are not taken seriously. And they frequently file cases against their employer, particularly when they feel that they've been marginalized. Accordingly, it's exceedingly important for medical device companies to take all compliance concerns seriously and appropriately investigate and address them to the extent applicable. In addition, for device manufacturers that directly bill payers, this case illustrates the need to ensure that claims are accurate and reflect ordered products. Similar to providers, DME POS suppliers should consider conducting periodic billing and coding audits to identify and correct and resolve billing and coding errors. It is a best practice to have a third party conduct at least one baseline billing and coding audit and to thereafter periodically conduct internal billing and coding audits, particularly when changes occur to CPT or HCPCS codes. On April 20th, two Florida doctors, Dean Zussmer and Lawrence Alexander, were sentenced to 8 years and 1 month and 2 years and 9 months in prison for the respective roles in a $31 million Medicare fraud scheme. Zussmer, a chiropractor, owned a durable medical equipment company that, together with 3 other companies, allegedly billed Medicare over $31 million for medically unnecessary durable medical equipment, including braces and orthotics. Alexander, an orthopedic surgeon, owned one of the other DME companies, together with Jeremy Waxman. Waxman was previously sentenced to over 15 years in prison for his role in connection with the alleged fraud scheme. The DME companies, in this case, allegedly acquired patient referrals by paying kickbacks to patient recruiters and marketing companies that used overseas call centers to solicit patients, and it also obtained allegedly fraudulent orders by paying telemedicine companies to procure prescriptions for allegedly unnecessary durable medical equipment and orthotics. The doctors that signed the orders and were contracted to the telemedicine companies allegedly had no prior relationship with the patients, allegedly were not actually treating the patients, and allegedly did not conduct appropriate telemedicine encounters when they referred a patient, but rather, as the DOJ alleged, rubber stamped orders for products that they were sent these patients. This case is another example of the DOJ continuing to prosecute durable medical equipment, prosthetics, orthotics, and supply suppliers for engaging in healthcare fraud. DME POS suppliers should be exceedingly cautious in how they procure customers and obtain orders for the products in this enforcement environment. Direct-to-patient marketing raises heightened concerns for DME POS suppliers, particularly because they submit claims directly to federal healthcare programs and thus are directly exposed to potential liability under the Federal False Claims Act, as well as under other healthcare fraud laws. This case presents 2 separate and interesting healthcare fraud issues. The first are concerns regarding direct-to-patient marketing and the risks and safeguards that should be implemented if you engage in direct-to-patient marketing. And the second area are concerns regarding fraudulent or purchased orders, which from the DOJ's perspective may not necessarily involve a payment to a doctor, but could involve effectively guaranteeing a stream of referrals to a physician. While medical device manufacturers are subject to certain limitations and safeguards permitted to market the products to consumers, the Department of Justice is skeptical of the bona fide need and medical necessity of products and supplies ordered for patients that were first introduced to a product via direct marketing. Over the last few years, there have been a number of False Claims Act cases and healthcare fraud cases against DME POS suppliers involving the use of aggressive telemarketing and patient recruitment companies that identified potential patients and routed them to a physician to, in the DOJ's view, rubber stamp an order for the company's products. With the growth of social media marketing, manufacturers and suppliers should be wary of using social media marketing and telemarketing companies that promise a stream of potential patients. Such patients, as I mentioned, may be railroaded by aggressive marketers into providing their information. Accordingly, medical device manufacturers and suppliers should consider adopting appropriate safeguards to limit direct-to-patient marketing, including ensuring that any referred patients have a bona fide need for the product. Such marketing arrangements may also potentially violate the federal anti-kickback statute, particularly where a marketing company is merely providing a stream of referrals, not engaged in bona fide marketing activities, or is otherwise charging based on the volume or value of referrals that they generate for the medical device company. Arrangements with marketing companies should be carefully scrutinized for compliance with the Personal Services Safe Harbor through the federal anti-kickback statute, and medical device manufacturers should also carefully consider the significant fraud and abuse concerns associated with direct-to-patient marketing models. The second healthcare fraud concern raised by this case is the use of telemedicine providers to generate fraudulent orders for products. With COVID, everything telemedicine has become very popularized, including a number of waivers and exceptions that would allow telemedicine encounters to occur. And there's been a slew of the telemedicine fraud over the last few years during the COVID pandemic. The DOJ continues to prosecute doctors and DME POS suppliers that engage in arrangements where effectively the supplier is paying a doctor or otherwise providing a stream of referrals to a doctor in exchange for the doctor generating an order for a patient, regardless of the patient's need for the DME POS. These types of arrangements may implicate the federal anti-kickback statute and other healthcare fraud laws, even if the physician is not being paid to generate an order. Specifically, the DOJ has taken the position in some cases that generating a stream of referrals to a physician in exchange for that physician's ordering or use of the product, particular medical device product, as well as the money spent by the medical device company to generate that stream of referrals, may be viewed as remuneration being effectively provided to the physician in exchange for the physician generating an order for that product. The DOJ has also prosecuted medical device companies, as I mentioned, for engaging in what they refer to as practice building. So this is very similar conduct. There have been a number of different cases in this space, including paying for lavish dinners to generate referrals for doctors, where the audience is effectively only referral sources for the physician. And in this case, we see effectively a stream of referrals going directly to telemedicine doctors to, at least the DOJ is alleging, rubber stamp these orders. If a medical device company is directing significant patient referrals to a healthcare provider, the DOJ may view that stream of referrals or the fees paid to the marketing company to generate those referrals as remuneration provided in violation of the anti-kickback statute. And specifically, their concern is these arrangements raise the specter of whether the provider's judgment is compromised by a desire to keep the medical device company happy to ensure that continued stream of referrals. Accordingly, such referral for order schemes raise significant concerns under the anti-kickback statute and should generally be avoided. That is not to say, however, that medical device companies cannot refer patients to physicians. That frequently happens, and oftentimes medical device manufacturers will establish a directory of physicians that are familiar with the products so that when they receive direct patient inquiries, they can direct those patients to the directory. However, those types of structures should be carefully vetted to ensure that they don't contain any of the suspect characteristics of these types of arrangements that involve practice building or referral for referral arrangements, or otherwise have aspects that the DOJ might view as some sort of fraudulent pay for order scheme. On April 25th, the FDA posted a warning letter issued on February 13th to a London-based dental medical device manufacturer. The letter alleged that a modified version of the device was misbranded and adulterated because it was significantly changed and modified since its 510(k) clearance in a manner that could significantly affect the safety or effectiveness of the device. The changes to this product included the incorporation of a new air regulator and changes to the materials used in the powder tubing and valves. The letter also included significant allegations that the company's response to the FDA 4083 was insufficient, and effectively made significant allegations that the company really lacked an adequate regulatory control system and regulatory oversight functions. Among the allegations were that the company did not have a system to identify, validate, and document whether device materials or labeling changes necessitated a new 510(k). It also alleged that the company failed to conduct corrective and preventive action investigations and failed to verify the effectiveness of corrective actions under the CAPA program. It also alleged that the company failed to document why investigations were not conducted in response to customer complaints, that the company also failed to maintain medical device history records, and that the company also utterly failed to adopt medical device reporting procedures and did not submit medical device reports. Medical device manufacturers must ensure that they have an adequate regulatory and quality system regulation team to ensure compliance with the myriad of FDA requirements. Many up-and-coming companies may have individuals with regulatory expertise, but it's important to build out all of the quality system procedures and policies that are needed to ensure compliance with FDA requirements. As a reminder, the FDA issued final guidance on October 25th, 2017, regarding how to decide whether you need to submit a 510(k) for a change to an existing device, whether that's a material design or labeling change, and how to document those decisions. That document contains helpful flow charts that describe how to determine whether design, material, or labeling changes necessitate a new 510(k). In general, a change that could significantly affect the safety or effectiveness of the device would require a new 510(k) or PMA, depending on whether or not there's substantial equivalence. Manufacturers should conduct an initial risk-based assessment to determine whether proposed changes could significantly affect the safety or effectiveness of a device. And even if you reach a decision that a change does not significantly affect or may not significantly affect the safety or effectiveness of a device, the FDA expects manufacturers to confirm that decision with routine verification and validation activities, as well as to appropriately document the basis for the decision in accordance with QSR requirements. Now, we unfortunately continue to see a very significant number of warning letters issued to medical device manufacturers, including even major medical device manufacturers, for failing to submit new 510(k)s for design or material changes to the products, and for failing to keep appropriate records of the decisions that they make not to submit 510(k)s. Accordingly, now may be a good time to evaluate your processes and procedures for evaluating design, material, and labeling changes to ensure that not only are you documenting decisions, whether or not you're submitting a 510(k), but you're also following up to validate the basis for those decisions. On April 28th, 2023, the FDA issued its updated standards catalog. This is now version 9.1 of the catalog. And this catalog lists the data standards and terminologies that the FDA supports for use and regulatory submissions for marketing clearance requests. The catalog also includes certain standards and terminologies with which the FDA requires compliance. And as a reminder, submitting data using standards and terminologies that are not included in the catalog should be discussed with the FDA before you make a submission using other standards. The FDA has established a docket to receive comments on the data standards catalog. So if you feel that particular data standards should be included or changes should be made to the catalog, there is a docket available for you to submit comments to FDA. On April 24th, the White House Office of Management and Budget began reviewing the proposed transitional coverage of emerging technologies notice, which, once finalized via regulation, is expected to streamline Medicare coverage for breakthrough devices. The proposed rule is expected to include potential early review of evidence by CMS before receiving FDA marketing authorization. So it will be a useful tool if and when finalized to assist with coverage for breakthrough devices. The rule also is expected to primarily focus on devices that have a benefit for the Medicare population. So it may not be available for all types of devices that are breakthrough devices. In March of this year as well, a bipartisan group of House lawmakers also reintroduced the Ensuring Patient Access to Critical Breakthrough Products Act. This is actually a separate action unrelated to the rule, and this act has been introduced a few times in the past. If finalized and adopted by Congress, this rule would require CMS to cover all breakthrough products in Medicare for 4 years. On April 19th, the U.S. Department of Commerce issued a proposed rule placing export controls on automated peptide synthesizers that it said could be used to quickly produce dangerous toxins. This rule is a follow-on to the September 13th advance notice of proposed rulemaking concerning the placement of Section 1758 technology export controls on instruments for the automated chemical synthesis of peptides. Under the proposed rule, export controls would apply to partially or fully automated peptide synthesizers that are capable of generating peptide sequences of more than 75 amino acids and capable of producing 100 milligrams of peptide at a 75% purity in a single run. The rule would apply to anyone exporting, re-exporting, as well as transferring within country the synthesizers and some related technology, and would require export administration regulation or authorization to do so through either an EAR license exception or a license issued by the Bureau of Industry and Security. I think there's a realization that there are a lot of universities and research institutions using this technology, so there was a discussion of deemed licenses in the proposed rule. The deadline to submit comments to the Bureau of Industry and Security is May 22nd. Thank you again for joining me this week for Medical Device Legal News. My name is Sam Bernstein. I'm a partner of McGuire Healthcare Group. I'd also like to thank my colleague, Sophie Moros, for helping to make today's program possible. I look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you and have a great day.